injured, I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7969.
WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob back and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. JD PicKell, 15 minutes from right now, talking all things college football. It's a What If Wednesday. We'll lean on you a little bit by you for chat. You can fire away any what ifs that you have. We'll talk about those at 1:30. In the second hour, we got some thoughts on LSU's exhibition win in hoops last night over Loyola. Got some sound from Matt McMahon as well from last night. Last football power rankings, 90 minutes away. There's been some shakeups in the power rankings this week, as one might expect. We'll talk about that coming up at 2:30. So plenty to get to. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We start you every single day the exact same way, and that is with, of course, our opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
It's fitting that this is called an opening drive. We're going to try to run the ball a little bit here, which LSU did not do very well in the game on Saturday night. I think that's been maybe the biggest talking point here outside of the Marcel Reed insertion into the game is LSU's inability to run the football. And I have done a segment similar to this a handful of times at this point, but we continue to collect more data and more information is available. It furthers the discussion. So we'll do it a little bit more here and illuminate some things. And I do realize fully that when I get into this segment, there are ways that you can manipulate these numbers. And I'm going to try not to do that and be as transparent as I can with the understanding that we're taking some liberties here and there. But it is what it is at this point. LSU goes to Texas A&M and has from the as a whole 23 carries for 24 yards. You're well aware of that number. But I want to take the sack yardage out and let's just talk about how they're running the ball with the running backs. Well, Josh Williams, 7 carries, 23 yards. Caden Durham, 11 carries for 15 yards. That is 18 carries for 38 yards. That's awful. That's not establishing the run game. That's not even busting one big one and skewing the numbers. That's just poor effort running the ball. No two ways about that. And Brian Kelly met with the media yesterday and talked about the struggles in the run game.
One, A&M is pretty good against the run. Two, a lot of the run game, for us is based upon individual matchups, winning individual matchups. We lost some individual matchups. And then, quite frankly, just making good decisions based upon when we should, throw the ball out and when we should run the football based upon numbers. So similarly to what we've talked about before, those are decisions that are made, post-snap. So when our run game has not gone well, we've lost some individual matchups up front. The quarterback is instrumental in reading, whether he has a loaded box or not. And then when there's an extra hat, making somebody miss. And we just collectively didn't execute at a high level in the running game.
Clearly, and you lost the football game. You also lost the game against Southern Cal in Vegas. And in that game, as in a total, your team had 26 carries for 117 yards. But if you just boil it down to the running backs, you had John Emery with 10 carries for 61 yards. 49 of those came on back-to-back runs, a 39-yarder and a 10-yarder. Josh Williams, 9 carries for 23 yards. Caleb Jackson, 6 carries for 18 yards. That's 25 rushes for 102 yards, which on its face is not terrible. 25 carries for 102 yards is not terrible on the ground. But I would suggest when you carry the ball 25 times and half of your rushing total comes from 2, that is not consistently running the football. Fair? I think that's fair. Hester would tell you, you can't take this run away, you can't take that run away, and he is right. You can't take them away. They happen. But I would rather a running game that consistently gets 5 yards than one that over the course of 23 carries does nothing and over the course of 2 gets 49. And I think he probably would too. But that's part of the manipulation of the numbers, and I'm telling you right now, I'm trying to be transparent with the numbers. Those are your 2 losses, and in your 2 losses, your running game has disappeared. How about last year at Alabama? How'd your running game do? Well, you had 24 carries for 206 yards. That's pretty damn good. That's real good. However, Jaden Daniels did almost all that. How'd your running backs do in Tuscaloosa last year? Well, Logan Diggs had 8 carries for 24 yards. That's 3 a pop. Josh Williams, 4 carries for 19 yards. That's 4.5 a pop. And John Emery had a carry for nothing. You had 13 carries for 43 yards from your tailbacks. That's not good enough. Not even close. And yes, Jaden Daniels helps with all that. But in terms of the actual running game, nothing doing in that loss. So we've gone over the last 3 losses for the program, A&M, USC, and Bama. Go back one more, running game did fine. LSU ran all over Ole Miss. I'll talk about that in a second. But then if you back it up 4 weeks prior, you played Florida State, and in that game, your tailbacks had 12 carries for 49 yards, and Josh Williams had a 39-yarder. So you had 11 carries for 10 yards in the others. Your running game did nothing against Florida State outside of one Josh Williams run right before halftime. Y'all have heard me talk about this before, but these are the facts. LSU, when they play really good fronts, doesn't run the ball. But that is not to say that LSU flat cannot run the football. It's not. LSU can't run the football against the good fronts. There were times where LSU couldn't even throw the ball against the bad defensive teams. Now, you're going back a decade, but that's not the point with this team. This offense is flawed. It's not anemic. And I can point to this year or last year. Last year, there was a point with these same offensive linemen, save the center, where Logan Diggs got things going. In a 3-week stretch against Arkansas, Missouri, and Auburn, he carried the ball 56 times for 328 yards. That is 6 yards a carry and 109 yards per game. Now, Arkansas, Missouri, and Auburn weren't great teams last year. Missouri won 13 games, but they weren't great on defense. They were good, and LSU took their coordinator, but they weren't Alabama personnel-wise. They weren't Florida State. If you go to Florida, yeah, Jaden Daniels did his thing against Florida. He had 606 yards of total offense. He ran whenever he wanted to. He threw whenever he wanted to. He owned Florida that night. But Josh Williams, John Emery, Noah Cain, and Caleb Jackson had 22 carries that night for 96 yards, and they didn't bust any. The long that run that night was 14. It was a consistent rushing attack. And certainly, I can grant you that the running game is different and has a different edge to it when you have the threat of Jaden Daniels running it and not. But it's the same offensive linemen, and they were creating holes for running backs. This year, Caden Durham ran for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns at South Carolina, and that's the number 3 run defense in league games in the SEC. LSU ran the ball against Arkansas. Durham had 101 yards against Arkansas. Texas A&M's got the best run defense in the Southeastern Conference. Ole Miss ranks 6th, and you didn't run it great against them. But you see what's coming up here. You've got Alabama, you've got Florida, you've got Vanderbilt, you've got Oklahoma. And I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but Florida's run defense is 15th out of 16 in league games. Oklahoma and Vanderbilt are ranked 8th and 9th against the run. And Oklahoma's going to be coming in here after they face Alabama, which is going to be a physical game in Norman. Those teams are not great run defenses, and it stands to reason that LSU very well may be able to run the ball on them like they did on Arkansas, like they did on South Carolina, like they did in the second half against UCLA. I think that's very possible. And you say, well, what about Alabama? I go, okay. Alabama hasn't looked great against the run. South Florida ran for 206 on 46 carries. Vanderbilt ran for 166 on 54 carries, but they stuck with it. South Carolina ran for 132 yards on 39 carries. Tennessee ran for 214 on Alabama. Missouri, with a terrible quarterback back there after Cook came out. I realize it was a blowout, but 167 yards on 39 carries? There's that you could say that Missouri ran it on because it was a blowout and Alabama quit caring, but what about the other four? Bama hasn't been awesome against the run. They just haven't. So now the conversation shifts to, can you win the rest of your games? If you can't win the rest of your games, then who cares? I don't care about the ReliaQuest Bowl. I don't even know what the other bowls are anymore. I'm dead serious. I don't even know. The Belt Bowl's still around? Not sure. I don't know if the SEC's got a tie-in, if the Gator Bowl's still here. I honestly have no idea. I've completely tuned out the bowls. At this point, I'm here to say, can you make the playoff or can you not make the playoff? And the only way to make the playoff is to win the rest of your games. And the only way to win the rest of your games is to continue to score some points. And LSU is scoring points. You're talking about a team that at Texas A&M, against one of the best defenses in the conference, had 17 first-half points with 2 missed field goals, and it had 283 yards of offense. It's not hard to multiply by 2. That's 34 points and 560 yards of offense. If you do times 2. You had a really good first half. You had a terrible second half. You can run the ball and have for a year and a half on average run defenses, bad run defenses. When you play the big boys, you don't. And if LSU has to play Georgia, if LSU has to play Ohio State, if LSU plays Ole Miss again, they won't play Ole Miss again because that's not going to happen. But if you play the big boys, you're in trouble running the football. But guess what? Oklahoma's not. Vanderbilt's not. Florida's not. Figure out a way to do it against Alabama. Again, this is a flawed offense, not an inept offense, not an anemic offense. They've got to get better at running the ball. I think that it's unlikely they get better at running the ball, but I think it's reasonably likely they can run it against some of the teams left on their schedule. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make here. The sample size is so big now that it's unlikely that you're going to transform yourself as far as running the ball goes. But what you've been the last couple of years, it's not like you never run the ball. You just don't run it in the games you lose against the better teams you play. Hopefully, some of that changes against Alabama coming up here a week and a half from today. JD PicKell on 3 Sports going to join us when we come back. That's our opening drive presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every single car on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Let's talk with JD next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Vaughn and his team, 30 years redesigning bathrooms and closets. Look, if you haven't given a lot of thought to your closet situation, maybe you should. In our first house, we hated the closet situation. It was awful. Didn't have enough room. Had to put jackets down the hall. Had to stuff the little guy's closet with some of our clothes that we didn't wear that were seasonal. Had to put shoes here and there. Had to put suitcases up in the attic. We just didn't have enough space. And so we decided we're going to move. Let's look at that before we pick a house. And we did. And we've vastly upgraded in the closet department, and it's made all the difference for us. You don't have to move to make that happen. David Vaughn and his team at One Bath and Closets can come in and create more space for you or use the space that you have more efficiently. They can put in different drawers, cabinets, cubbies. They can put things up that are easy to get to when that time comes. If you haven't given that some thought, do it. You think, paying for it, maybe not a great time. Financing options are available. 0% for 18 months as long as you qualify for it. Start with a free consultation. Check out some of their fantastic reviews online and start that process today. It's One Bath and Closets. The website again, onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Hope your work week's off to a good start. About half of it in the rear view mirror. We're here on 104.5 ESPN at Baton Rouge. It's a What If Wednesday. Get those into the Bayou 4 chat. We'll get to them in the next segment. It's that time of the week where we talk to our guy, JD PicKell, host of the Hard Count on 3. Subscribe to the On 3 YouTube channel. Get your college football fix every single day. Or you can check him out here every single Wednesday. JD, what's up?
How we doing, man?
Terrible.
Beautiful Wednesday. A lot going on.
Yeah, we're not doing great down here. That was really, really bad. Last 25 minutes of game action for the Fighting Tigers. They were in total control in College Station until they very much were not. What was your biggest takeaway from LSU and A&M in College Station?
I think, honestly, picking LSU the first half of the game, you're like, oh, heck yeah. Like, let's roll. I got it figured out. LSU's got better quarterback play. That's the reason they're winning. And then Marcel Reed subs into the game, and everything sort of went to the dog. So I think it gave me visions of the USC game where Brian Kelly slamming the table and saying, when we have an opponent, we have to put them away. And so just that killer instinct that LSU still is seemingly trying to develop is probably the most frustrating feeling I'd have to imagine for all the good folks out there in Baton Rouge. I don't mean to be the neighborhood hope dealer, but I will say this. I think 10-2 with a one loss in SEC play gets you into the dance. That's my opinion. So I guess all that's to say is, as much as that killer instinct is still developing, I think that they still have time to develop it as long as it's Death Valley at night when Bama rolls into town.
Yeah, I mean, how realistically do you think they can get to 10-2?
I do. I think that's very realistic. I think, because it's so tough to play the hypothetical game, right? I know nobody wants to do the woulda, shoulda, coulda deal, but really should have beat Texas A&M, right? You're up by 10 on the road. It's all working for you offensively. I think it's definitely realistic to think they can get 10-2. At that point, obviously, you are a little bit at the mercy of what else is going on around the country. But I really think the cards would fall in such a way to where a one-loss SEC conference play LSU team, with their other loss being the first week of the season, I think there would be some wiggle room for them to get in within that large bid.
We'll see if LSU can force the committee to make that decision. Let's talk about A&M. It's not like we haven't seen Marcel Reed. He started 3 games, has played in 4. LSU just wasn't ready for him. I'm going to assume that he's going to be the starting quarterback moving forward because I just don't imagine anyone would decide to put Connor Wigman back out there after what he's done this year. How good is Texas A&M with Marcel Reed moving forward?
I think they're one of the best teams in America moving forward here with Marcel Reed at quarterback. The thing with me around A&M is they just do good football team things with Marcel Reed in the game. They win a lot of schools. They run the football. They stop the run. All those things that, we used to describe Texas A&M as not being, like we all say the opposite. Like, all the times over the last couple of years where we're talking about something with Jimbo Fisher underachieving, or we're talking about Jimbo Fisher with something that had nothing to do with the game. It's whether he's passing blame in a press conference, talking about execution. Like, there was always an explanation of execution. There's none of that with this Texas A&M team. Like, everything to me is an embodiment of Mike Elko, which is discipline, blue collar, line of scrimmage, all those things. And I know that's not going to make me popular right now around Bruce saying that after the game against LSU, but I really do think that to look back on this loss for LSU and say, okay, well, it's going to age well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right now it's not going to hurt you too bad. The USC loss looks terrible at this point, but we'll see if you can be a 7-1 SEC team with wins over Ole Miss, Alabama, South Carolina. I think that's a reasonable case. I'm not going to call it a slam dunk, but it's reasonable. We'll see how the rest of the country ends up shaking out. Elsewhere in the Southeastern Conference, do you think Bama figured some things out, or is Missouri just a shell of itself?
I think Missouri, honestly, Hunt, to be real with you, I think they were always pretty fraudulent. Last year was tremendous for them, right? You win 10 games, but so many of those games, as you and I discussed, were one score with Cody Schrader, with Blake Baker calling the defense. Like, I think it really was a matter of time before they just had the implosion, and then Brady Cook getting injured was just kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. But I mean, the bigger thing to me, if I'm a Missouri fan, is like, why is Luther Burden not getting more touches? And I know that's like the classic, call in rant, I'm sure, on Paul Feinbaum if you're a Missouri fan. But I do not understand it for the life of me why the only player that could switch sidelines in that game from Missouri and go start for Alabama right away is not a more focal point in that game. Like, I get Drew Pine comes in and that limits you offensively, but like, shoot, let's get some perimeter easy pass game. Let's get some speed sweeps. Let's do some. I mean, we've seen them do wildcat with the birds. Like, why not give your best player the football and give yourself a chance? So that wasn't really the question you asked me. I think Alabama's fine. I think they probably have a path. They probably need some help to find their way into the college football playoff. But I think to me, the implosion of Missouri is more what I came away with watching that game.
I was doing my SEC Power Rankings, which I'll talk about in an hour from right now on my show. But one of the things I was looking at with Texas is like, okay, what's their best win? Is it at Michigan? Is it at Vanderbilt? I mean, it's not Oklahoma. I'm curious what their best win is thus far and what we should think of the Longhorns. You watch them play in Nashville; they win that game by 3 points. What was your takeaway?
I think Vanderbilt's a lot better than maybe we are giving them credit for in our own mind, because I think the Vanderbilt logo is, one that doesn't have a ton of prestige to it, needless to say, across the last few years of the SEC. But honestly, man, with the way that they play with the option, Diego Pavia, and just overall a better roster with taking 20 or so transfers, I think that Vanderbilt team is actually better than maybe we would like to give credit for. I think the win over Michigan, to answer your question about Texas, is the one that I would circle. And obviously it hasn't aged well, but to me, and I'd be curious of your take on this, Hunt, like, I personally feel like there's so many variables that go into every single week of the college football season. A lot of it in some ways being like your psyche. Like when Texas beat Michigan, and that's not to say they had better talent or less talent than they do right now, but I think there was a certain sense of belief and maybe a certain image of themselves at Michigan of, hey, we are one of the big dogs in the Big Ten. Hey, we did win a national championship. After a few losses, that intensity maybe dampened a little bit. So I still think that was impressive. I still think Texas is one of the better rosters in college football. I'm not ready to throw my just yet of a Longhorn.
All right, let's talk about Indiana for a second here before we get to this week. Are they a reasonable threat to win the Big Ten?
I think they are. I think it's so tough to argue with what they've done, right? Because, I mean, undefeated in Never Trail and now done with a backup quarterback. Now, would they be my pick to win the Big Ten? I wouldn't go that far. There's probably a couple other teams you put in front of them. But what's fascinating to me is, like, how does the whole Big Ten tiebreaker thing shake out? Like, I tried to sit down and look at it this morning and try to work through all the different head-to-heads and, how that would all shake out. Felt like I was doing some cardio trying to do that. I mean, worked up a real good sweat, I'll tell you that. But, there's a world now where Indiana, Penn State, and Oregon all went out, and somehow, some way, one of those three gets left out of the Big Ten title game, and then Indiana, let's say, is one of those two that's in the dance, and they're 60 minutes from, making a run at a bye for the first round of the college football playoffs. So that's a lot of thoughts there, but I think my answer is, until there is a blemish on the record, even though they haven't played the Ohio State just yet, I think with what they're doing right now and the way that they are just dominant, it's hard for me to make a case against them.
Penn State, are they ready for prime time? Ohio State comes to the Big House for an 11 a.m. kickoff on Fox. Ohio State's got a loss, obviously, at Oregon. Penn State unbeaten to this point. Ohio State's a 3.5-point favorite. What do we think about this one?
And Penn State pressed charges for not getting this as a whiteout game. I know there's a million variables in play here with the way the Big Ten's always done things and night games in Happy Valley in the month of November, but you can't find a way to smuggle a whiteout game. That to me is the thing where I'm a student at Penn State. I'm tying myself to a tree. I'm getting petitions. I'm rioting, all that. But I would say for Penn State, the curious thing for me in this game, with the 12-team playoff, there is whether they would admit pressure than ever before on Penn State in this game against Ohio State. Like there is a certain level of margin out here. So in that way, I wonder if the level of pressure whether they would, again, say it out loud or not, dial back a little bit, makes for a more competitively dangerous Penn State team. The quarterback position, obviously, we're going to, I'm sure, find out the first series of the game who their guy is. I don't think they'll tell us before that, but I really think Bo Prabula, with his legs and what we've seen from him in just different spurts with what you need against Ohio State, I think he's probably the guy that gives you a better chance against this Ohio State defense. No knock on Drew Aller. Like, I think you just need a guy who can ad-lib when the play breaks down, a guy who can give you better chances for more positive plays. And in that way, I think Bo Prabula is a guy I would want back there whenever JT Tuimoloau breaks through the offensive line. I want him back there and not Drew Aller. That's my opinion.
How about South Carolina's home schedule this year? They got LSU at home. They get Ole Miss at home. Now Texas A&M is coming to them at home as well. It's going to be a 6:30 game, 7:30 their time on ABC. Do you give the Gamecocks any chance to hang around with the Aggies?
I think Texas A&M wins, but I will say this. If Texas A&M is not as mature as I think they are, they will get beat. Like, that South Carolina team rolling in there, they're a lowly 4-3, and they're not going to be a team that goes to Atlanta and you're riding high if you're A&M. Like, that team is good enough, I think, to beat anyone the rest of the way. And so whether it's A&M or someone else, like, they're going to be one of those teams that I feel like spoils it for somebody. Not sure who that would be. Maybe it's Clemson down the way. I don't know. But, like, they are a lot better than their record, and it starts up front with them, man. I mean, Dylan Stewart. We're going with the firearms. I like where the head's at. I don't love the execution. But overall, man, like, South Carolina is going to be a very, very tough out, and not who you want to see at home, no less, after an emotional home win.
That front can get after you for sure, and we'll see if Texas A&M's offensive line is ready for it. Last one here, JD. Pittsburgh at SMU, not one we would generally talk about, but these are two teams that are very much in the mix, undefeated in ACC play. Who do you like in that one in Dallas?
No, I'm going to go with Pitt. I'm going to go with Tate Bell, the young OC, Eli Holstein, the Bama transfer. Like, I think SMU, honestly, probably should have lost last week with the game against Duke. I mean, I know they had some superhero blocked field goal to push it to overtime and won there, but I love Rhett Lashley. I love SMU, but overall, man, I'm going to go with the fighting Pat Narduzzi's getting it done on the road.
Appreciate it, man. Enjoy the football this week. We'll talk next week, LSU and Bama week. Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it, brother. Go Tigers.
That's JD PicKell, host of the Hard Count on 3. Check him out on YouTube. You can also follow him on Twitter as well. We're with him every single Wednesday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. When we come back, it's What If Wednesday. Get him into the Bayou Ford chat. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. They're on Airline near PQ. They hadn't been there a long time, so you may not have been there. But it's right there, Airline and PQ, across from Women's Hospital. And when I say Genesis, you should think luxury. It is absolutely a luxury line of vehicles. But when I say luxury, don't automatically rule yourself out in terms of price. At Genesis, you're talking about a luxury line of vehicles at a reasonable price. And the sales experience is second to none. Their brand ambassadors are phenomenal. It is a pressure-free buying experience. When you walk in, you're going to feel like a guest, not going to feel like a customer there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can test drive them. Don't want to go into the dealership to test drive? They'll bring it to you. Let you test drive from work or at home. You don't want to go to the dealership to sign your papers? You can e-sign them. It's as easy and painless as a car buying process can be, and I promise you, with the end result, you're going to be thrilled. They've got an incredible line of vehicles there at Genesis of Baton Rouge, and all of them have been given the IIHA top safety pick. Some of them top safety pick plus. If you haven't considered Genesis, just put it on your list. Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online, genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, hosted by the Goo Goo Dolls' #1 fan, Hunt Palmer.
That rejoin just puts me in a good mood, you know?
As it should.
I mean, the mayonnaise on hot dogs. I mean, I love mayonnaise on hot dogs. That doesn't necessarily put me in a great mood. What are some other ones that they got on there? Oh, Lover's Report. You know,
yeah, the laptop one, laptop charger.
Yeah, that doesn't put me in a great
no,
mood.
I wouldn't think so.
But the Goo Goo Dolls jamming in the rejoin, which we only get a couple times a week, it just warms my heart. We'll talk SEC Power Rankings an hour from right now. Still got to react to LSU's basketball exhibition win last night. I was in the PMAC for the first half of that game. We'll just tell the story right now. I had to go to Pluckers for trivia, so I watched the first half in person. Wrote a good bit because it was 31-3 at one point, so I had a pretty good feeling of how that was going to go and what the actual storylines in the game are going to be. So during halftime, I went and got in my car, drove to Pluckers, and then I watched the rest of the game on my laptop, and then wrote the rest of it for LouisianaSports.net after that. But as I was walking out of the PMAC, I walked down the ramp at about 7:50 p.m. and my car was on the other side of Tiger Stadium in the South Stadium lot, and it started to sprinkle for the first time in a month. It was raining, and then it wasn't sprinkling at all. And I was 450 yards away from my car, and it was torrentially raining with the wind blowing. And I didn't have an umbrella because it hasn't rained in a month, and there was really nothing I could do at that point except just get absolutely drenched from head to toe. Every bit, like my hair was soaked. My shirt was completely a different color and soaked. My pants were soaking wet. My shoes were gross. Like, it was just it was an awful experience.
So what did you do? Did you just walk into Pluckers drenched?
Just drenched. I mean, what else? What am I going to do?
You have like a towel or something?
I don't have a towel in the car. I don't have any. I change of clothes. Home's too far away. We started at 8:30. Like,
Jeez.
I mean, it dried eventually. I would say 25 minutes later, we were, reasonably dry, and then my hair was an absolute wreck. I had one of the team names at Pluckers Trivia last night was, "Did you get a workout in before trivia?" I was like, no, I just got soaked. I got rained on for 400 yards of jogging. That's what, I mean, eventually you have to get on the hop a little bit there, but there's nothing, it's not going to work.
No.
So that was a sad experience last night. The basketball game wasn't sad, though. We'll talk about it in 25 minutes. But right now, it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
Alrighty, first one here. What if Steve Bartman had been more like those Yankee fans last night?
How about that?
Jesus.
I mean, the actual take, the real take on those guys is you're a lunatic.
Yes.
However, there is like a 1.6% piece of me that goes, hey, these guys are ticked. The Yankees can't get a hit. They can't score a run. They can't win a game. They're going to take measures of their own, and they're going to go ahead and somebody's got to make a play. And if the guys in the pinstripes down there on the field aren't going to make a play, then the bleacher creatures are going to have to do something out there.
Yeah, but here's the problem, Hunt. If this happens, and it keeps if it happens again on a big stage, then we're going to have netting around the entire
That's why
ballpark.
It was only 1.6%. But I appreciate that guy stepping up to the plate and trying to make a play. Now he's banned. He's banned from last night, got kicked out, and he's not allowed to go tonight.
Yeah, great job, buddy. You did a great job there.
I will say this, and this is real talk. If you're on the first row of a baseball game, you now are, unlike football and basketball, an actual part of the game.
Yep.
And you are within your rights as long as the ball comes to you to make a play on it. You can't reach out, but you got to know that you can play some defense out there if the ball gets to you. Now, this didn't, and that's caught it before it got there.
Yeah.
But if you're on the front row and there's a ball coming your way, as long as you don't reach out, if you can get involved there and make a play, you gotta be on Johnny on the spot. You can't grab the guy and try to rip the ball out of his glove, but you can absolutely make a play on the ball if it's in your seat. So just a word to the wise to the folks out there. Maybe that comes into play at the box at some point in foul territory. Know your spot, folks.
Yeah, Moogie's got to get more animated. I want to see him pull a Moises Alou and just throw his glove on the ground and
Moises
stomp around.
And he was. I was not happy. Sophomore in high school, Hunt, not happy.
All right, next one here. What if you got $1,000 for a 1-foot putt and 50,000 more every 5 feet you move back. So I guess that means
so that's $1,000. It's $1,000 for 1 foot, 50,000 for 5 feet.
No, well, every 5 feet. So it'd be
50,000. Yeah, 6 feet. So 10 feet. We're just going by hard numbers there. Let's go 100,000 for a 10-footer, 150,000 for a 15-footer. I think in that sense, I'm gonna have to hit the 5-foot putt for $50K. Like, I would like $1,000, and I'm going to make that 1-footer. I feel really good over the 1-footer.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good over the 5-footer. You get back to 10-footer, that's that's a sub 50% make.
Oh yeah, even for pros, that's not,
a sub 30% make, and it is $50,000 extra. But I think I got to take the 5-footer for 50K.
Man. You got to take the 5. I think. Yeah, I think even. I feel like even a professional, if they were doing that, probably would stick with 5, because that's like after you get past 7 or 8 feet is when the percentages drop drastically in terms of make percentage.
Although, if you could give me uphill slightly right to left, I might back up. We like the slightly right to left.
Okay. All right, next one here. What if it storms during trick-or-treating on Thursday?
This was brought to my attention yesterday.
Yeah, it's a real possibility.
It has not rained here in a month.
Yep.
And my child, it's crazy because my child is just now getting to the age where he can get excited about something. He doesn't know what trick-or-treating is, but he knows that he's going trick-or-treating, and then he gets to wear the dinosaur costume when he does that. And he's been talking about it every day for 2 weeks. And so I think we can fake it if we got a hailstorm, which is possible. And like there's his grandparents are coming, and like we can like get in different rooms and make him walk around and hand him candy or something. Like we could fake it if it's torrential out there. But like this is a huge bummer. Because like he hasn't known what any of his birthday parties were. He doesn't know what Christmas is. Like he's never really been excited about anything in his life. This is like one of the first things he's actually built up some excitement and talked about it moving in. And like that would be a huge bummer if it happened.
Yeah, I have heard that some neighborhoods are already moving their actual trick-or-treating to Wednesday or Friday. But it looks like the chance of rain has actually moved. It was like 80 yesterday. Now it's only 50. It is at night, but it looks like it may be gonna be not as bad as expected. So hopefully it just doesn't rain on Thursday.
The good news for us is I don't have like a 9-year-old that wants to hit 60 houses. I have a 2.8-year-old who's not yet 3. Who, if I get him 5 handfuls of candy, he's gonna be fine. Yeah. So we'll make it work. But that's a big bummer if you get some serious rain tomorrow. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, hopefully not. All right, next one. What if bones didn't heal themselves?
Okay. So I put that one in the chat.
Okay.
I've never done a drug in my entire life. Like I've never smoked weed. I've never done anything harder than that. Like that's pretty prevalent. College age kids these days and all days. I've never done it. But I think my like biggest like stoner take is like, what if bones didn't heal themselves? Because like that would suck really bad if you broke your arm when you were like 8 and then it's just broken.
Well, yeah, and there's nothing you could do. I mean, if a bone is like a clean break, then you can like do stuff. But if it's just like a crack or something, like how could you even heal that?
And like, would you choose to play football? Like, because like you're gonna get hurt if you play football, and like you're gonna compromise the rest of your life. And they pay you really well for it.
Yeah.
But like that's a dicey deal.
Yeah,
have you ever broken a bone?
No, I never have.
I've
sprained my ankle once, but
I sprained my ankle once
that's
and it's still swollen, and it is how many years later? 18 years later, it's still swollen.
Okay, well, seems like you didn't maybe handle that properly.
We got back out on the court a few days later.
Yeah, probably not.
Look, I got to handle the ball, Beck. We got to break the press. We got to win games. So I can't be sitting on the sideline on crutches.
Got to play hurt sometimes.
Tape it up and go play. But yeah, that's one of my like. We're very lucky that the body like heals itself. That's a very and you know there are some healthcare professionals who aid in that.
Yes.
Who I shouldn't really shortchange there, but yeah, that would be a bad deal.
It would be. All right, we got some in the chat here. What if the Cubs spent money like the Yankees and Dodgers?
They'd have better players if they did that.
Yeah, they would probably.
They wouldn't just go sign backup catchers and bullpen guys that on 1-year deals that can't get anybody out. Yeah, I wish they did. That's obviously the best way to go about it. You can certainly Diamondback your way to a World Series last year. The Rays are generally good, but the best way to do it is to do what the Padres did and the Phillies have done and the Yankees and Mets have done and the Dodgers have done. That's the best way to do it. The Cubs don't do it that way. So
no,
that's
they
a bummer.
don't. Next one. What if Hunt was given free VIP passes to a live tournament? Would he attend or not?
No, I would not. Absolutely not. Not even a second thought. There's just no chance. I would like to talk to Greg Norman, but other than that, I would never go to a live event. VIP, free, fly me out there in a jet, whatever, the whole treatment, put me up in the nicest hotel in town, get me backstage with all the players, a clinic with Rom. You could throw in any perk you could possibly want that's not completely tied to dollars and cents, which is a great irony here.
It is.
But I'm not going to participate in anything Liv does ever. I will never watch a shot. I don't even know. It's just not happening.
There is no questioning your hatred for Liv Hunt. That is one thing that is for sure. All right, let's get one more here. Let's see. What if Hunt was a fan? Oh no, okay, that's stupid. It's what if Hunt was a fan of an actual good baseball team? You are the fan of a good baseball team, LSU.
Yeah,
they're pretty
Tigers.
good.
By the way, Jay Johnson, Hunt Palmer show tomorrow, 1:30.
Yeah. All right. Last one. What if Myers wanted a sister?
He says he wants a brother, then he says he wants a sister. He doesn't know what brothers or sisters are.
Yeah, probably
so
not.
That's just beyond him. But he's going to get something here coming up. We had a great appointment yesterday. Fantastic stuff there. So yeah, we'll see in March what happens. I would find out yesterday if we could, but once, as I've said many times, I don't get a vote on that. She calls all those shots. So we are in the midst of some discussions about names.
Oh,
Beck, I fear I'm losing the battle.
Well, how did the first one go? How was
we
that
had
handled?
names? I was very comfortable with. We had two boy names. I was 100% on one and didn't really like the other one. Myers is the one I really liked, and we got that. Girl wise, I can't remember exactly where we had settled. Obviously, there are some of those that are still around.
Yeah.
But there's a new one that's emerged.
Oh.
I'm gonna need some convincing.
Okay.
And, it's not looking great.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Hey, there's still time.
There is time. The beauty of it is that when I make a decision on a name, I'm 100% the whole way. Like that's what I want. Yeah. She changes every 3 weeks, so we got a lot of weeks left.
You got a lot of time to build.
But this one's hung around for like 6 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So we're in the depths.
Stay tuned, I guess.
We will stay tuned. All right, we'll come back and close out hour number 1 of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LeBear's Baton Rouge. Got to make it your game day headquarters this season, all season long. They got the biggest screens around, and now you can bet and dine at ESPN Bet in person. If you're looking to get in on some action this Saturday, LSU's not playing, spend the day at ESPN Bet inside LeBear's. They got fantastic food, blackjack tables right there where you can watch the game and play. Got fantastic food and drink options and great places to sit with those huge screens right there in front of you. And I always tell you each and every day, sign up for the SEC's contest on Cover 5. You enter the code LABRSEC24, LABRSEC24, and compete against me and a lot of our listeners each and every week picking 5 SEC games. If you're not a member, get the Pin Play app today. LeBear's Baton Rouge, your live sports headquarters. Got to be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
Colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Wrapping up our number 1 here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Ross Jackson, lots of coverage over at LouisianaSports.net on the New Orleans Saints. And he's got a couple of positive injury notes today. The team has announced that they've opened the 21-day practice window for 2 players that are trying to make their way back from injured reserve. Nephi Sewell is one of them at linebacker. That would certainly help add a little bit of depth there as you've had injuries. Pete Werner was down a little bit earlier. Willie Gay has gone down. Demario Davis actually missed time as well. So you're a little thin there. To get him back would be a good thing. And then Shane Lemieux on the offensive line is returning to practice as well. And look, that's something that you need because they just don't have the offensive linemen, the depth that they need. They're signing guys off of the Jets practice squad to come in and play center. And you're getting a little bit healthier on the interior offensive line. You welcomed Cesar Ruiz back. You welcome Lucas Patrick back. You're hopeful to get Eric McCoy back here in the next couple of weeks. But Lemieux can help you there. He started the game against the Atlanta Falcons, but went into injured reserve there. They liked what they saw from Lemieux in camp, and you've got to do something on the offensive line because let's be pretty frank about this. I think the Saints can overcome a little bit of what's gone on at wide receiver. They don't have great wide receivers, but they got guys that can go out there and run and make some catches. That's the ancillary part of this offense. The meat and potatoes of this offense that makes everything go is that wide zone run scheme. And you've got to get that going. And to do that, you've got to be healthy on the offensive front. And I'm not trying to suggest that Shane Lemieux is going to come back and resurrect the Saints season. But I'm just saying that as much depth as you can add to that offensive line, the better, because you've got to run the ball with Kamara. And then once Carr gets back, hopefully you can start to move things forward on the offensive side of the football. I think this whole thing started when the offensive line fractured. And yes, the Derek Carr injury was a bigger issue in the grand scheme because he's the quarterback, but why did he get hurt? Well, I can't directly point to the fact they've had injuries on the offensive line, but it certainly doesn't help to have an immobile quarterback with a bad offensive line and him taking shots, not being able to run the ball, setting up third and distance, allowing pass rushers to come after him, then he eventually gets hurt. Then all of a sudden, when you tie it all together, it is the offensive line. That's what's got to be better for this team. So I think it's a positive thing that Lemieux is trending towards coming back. I think it's a positive thing that McCoy is trending towards coming back. They got to wait a little bit more to get him back in full, but they're starting to put some pieces together. I guess the positive with having so many guys injured, and this is a really crazy way to think of it, but I guess the positive with having so many guys injured is they can't get further injured. They're immediately closer to getting back once they are hurt as opposed to getting hurt for future times. Boy, that's a twisted thought. But the Saints are getting guys back, and they've got to get guys back, and they've got to do it in a hurry. Got to find a way to go to Carolina and win, and then see if you can't find a way to scratch and claw, win some other ones, and see if the Falcons and and Bucks continue to tread water and stay within shouting distance. I'm not overly optimistic, but I also don't want to sit here every single time I do a Saints segment, every single time, and finish it with, it doesn't really matter because they suck. That's not a way to cover a team. Nobody wants to hear that. It is what it is. So just keep in mind that every time I do a Saints segment, I'm well aware they've lost 6 games in a row for the first time in 17, 20 years. I'm well aware that they are in last place. Well, Panthers. I'm well aware they're 2-6. I'm well aware that the future of the organization doesn't look awesome. However, we're going to talk about them week to week and see if we can't, progress things a little bit in the right direction. It starts with injuries, then performance, then trying to get some wins. So some positive news on the injury front, I guess, is welcome down there in the 504. We'll chat with Luke Johnson about the Saints tomorrow in his normal segment at 1:15. If you're looking for our Saints coverage, you can certainly find it at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Hunt on Saints, subscribe up to it. All our Saints coverage comes to you each and every day if you subscribe to the channel Hunt on Saints. All right, hour number 2 coming at you. We got a lot of fun to have. We talked about LSU basketball briefly there, more so me getting rained on, leaving the game. But there was actually some basketball that went on in the PMAC. I want to talk about that and hear some sound from Matt McMahon. And my SC football power rankings are coming up at 2:30. Where do the Fighting Tigers come in? You'll have to wait 35 minutes to find out. If you missed any of hour number 1, catch it on demand. Anywhere you find your podcast, you can always find us as well as on YouTube. Talk some LSU football at the top of the show. JD PicKell is with us as well. And then some What If Wednesday, as usual, on Wednesday. Come back after Sports Center. You're listening to a Wednesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy. EvolvePT.com. Right here in Baton Rouge on Starring near Highland Road. If you're in pain, like most of the Saints, you need some rehabilitation. Rehabilitation does not take place when you get a printed handout of some stretches to do and get told we'll see you next week. That's not rehab. That's not what you're going to get at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. You're going to walk into their first-class facility there, and you're going to have one of their physical therapists with you from start to finish. They're going to do the soft tissue manipulation. They're going to do the dry needling. They're going to do the cupping, the scraping. They can do isokinetic testing to see how that strength is coming back. If you're an active person and can't be because you're injured, because you're hurt, go to Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports Rehab to get back to being your active self, whether it's golf, working out, tennis, pickleball. You're a youth athlete. No matter what the case may be, Robbie Bolton and his team are here to help you. They're Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. Check them out online, evolvept.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like
I'm Christine Lisi. Joe Flacco is the Colts starting quarterback going forward because he gives them the best chance to win, according to Coach Shane Steichen. Steichen today said the decision to bench Anthony Richardson and turn to Flacco was his. He added they're not giving up on Richardson, now in a backup role. The Dodgers up 3-1 start Jack Flaherty in the potential clincher Game 5 of the World Series tonight against the Yankees. It's Garrett Cole for New York. Since the Yankees' bullpen's been used heavily in the first 4 games, it's crucial for Cole to pitch well and go deep into the game. And keep an eye on one thing with the Yankees ace tonight, notes ESPN MLB analyst Jessica Mendoza.
I want to see him elevate the fastball. This is a huge part of his game, but he's got to do it against the Dodgers. This has been the pitch that they've chased. They don't chase a whole lot, but they will chase velocity up in the zone. This has been the weakness for them. When it is elevated, that has been what the Dodgers have struggled with. No one does it better when you look at the Yankees rotation than Garrett Cole.
Game 5 coverage, 7 Eastern, ESPN Radio. NHL Oilers megastar Connor McDavid with an ankle injury expected to miss 2 to 3 weeks.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Thursday. Which NFL teams are actually good? I'll tell you what we think we know that actually isn't so at the halfway point. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half the work week officially in the rear view mirror. Working towards the weekend. Appreciate you hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. SEC Power Rankings coming at you in 30 minutes. We'll talk some recruiting coming up in the next segments. Bryce Underwood looking around? I'll give you my thoughts. You heard some of Shay Dixon's on Matt Moscona's show yesterday after further review. Welcome you to go back and listen to that on demand. Matt does a great job with Shay, and Shay does an awesome job covering the recruiting side of things for sure. And I'll kind of piggyback on some of the things he had to say yesterday. But I do want to start the hour with some LSU basketball. The Tigers were on the hardwood last night inside the PMAC, played an exhibition game with Loyola of New Orleans, an NAIA team. Actually won the national championship a couple of years ago, weren't as good last year. But it was completely non-competitive. And I want to be very, very clear before we start talking about anything here. This was a glorified practice. This was a quote-unquote game against a team that cannot compete with you physically. So I'm not trying to make sweeping proclamations about the season as a whole based on playing a team that can't compete with you. LSU was up in this game 34-3, okay? It was an absolute annihilation, and we knew that was going to be the case because an NAIA team can't keep up with an SEC team. So I was getting some texts, and I saw some stuff on Twitter about how, this and that, and I'm like, wait a second. Like, there's very little you can truly draw from this game.
I mean, Matt McMahon told us the main objective of this game was just to have the team understand the process of what it means to play a game.
Eat a pregame meal.
Yeah.
Like this was not about how things are going to look when you go to play Calipari's squad up there at Bud Walton. That's not what this was about. So if you're trying to make big time generalizations about, this guy could do this year, it's chill. We know that this is not indicative of much of what you're going to look at moving forward. But I did think that there were some things to point out in this game, and I wrote about it at LouisianaSports.net. You can go check that out. But I thought that it was interesting to watch Jordan Sears initially kind of control the pace of the game. It was nice that he came out and bam, hit 3 out of his first 4 threes, and that was great to see. But I thought more importantly, he just looked kind of completely under control. He knew when to take the rebound and run and force the issue. Had a really nice spin move at one point. He knew when to pull it back out. He knew when to take his shots. He didn't seem to be forcing the issue at all. And I think it would be easy to force the issue against an NAI team that can't guard you. But I thought he did a nice job. We'll find out more about Jordan Sears when he's got to deal with 6'3" guards on the perimeter, and he's got to deal with really active 6'10" guys around the rim, which he didn't have to deal with last night. He was a ball-dominant player at Tennessee Martin. I think he's going to do a little bit more distributing this year. But I was impressed to see what Jordan Sears did in the game last night. Cam Carter kind of got it rolling in the second half. He was the starter at the 2 for LSU. He made 6 of his 7 second-half field goals. He made 3 of his 4 threes. He scored 15 in the second half, had 21 in the game to lead LSU. And I think as I look at the composition of the roster, you don't have, Marcus Thornton, Cam Thomas. You don't have one of those guys that's a 2 guard that's just going to go get buckets. And I think that you're going to see Sears shoulder a significant amount of the scoring load, and certainly I think Jalen Reed is going to be a scorer for this team. But I feel like based on roster composition with this team and roster composition at Kansas State the last couple of years, where Cam Carter was as a starter on a really gritty team that had some success in the NCAA tournament, I think Carter's probably going to take on more of a scoring role on this team than he did on his team at Kansas State. That's just kind of my guess. I think there's some more defensive-minded players on this team that, and Carter's one of them, but Jai Bailey's a defensive-minded guy. I think Derek Fountain plays some defense for you as well. I think Sears is going to play some defense and help you out with some steals up top. I clearly think that you can look at I'm blanking out on his name. I guess I can look at the box score. The kid who's redshirted last year that I talked about yesterday, Chest. Corey Chest is a defensive and rebounding guy for sure. There are some guys that are going to be defense-first guys on this team. I think Carter's going to have to score a little bit more, and he led the team in shooting last night at 13 shots that he put up. So I was curious to see him as well. As far as some other storylines in the game, I thought that it was interesting to watch the LSU freshmen kind of get their first taste of putting on the uniform and playing in a big arena. All 3 of them airballed a shot early. Victorious Miller airballed a 3. Robert Miller airballed 2 threes. He's a 6'10" post who was out there putting up 2 threes in the first 4 minutes of the game, and neither one of them hit the iron. And also you saw Curtis Givens airball a shot early. All of them came back later in the game and made a 3, so I thought they potentially settled down a little bit. But that's the point of playing this game. The point of playing the game is to get some of those jitters out. Certainly there's going to be 3 times as many people in there for their first game next Wednesday, and the score will actually count, so some of those nerves are going to crop back up. But it was very clear watching those guys that they were a little antsy in their first game, and that's exactly what Matt McMahon was talking about yesterday. He wanted to get those guys out on the floor and just let them work through some things and go through the process of a game day in college for the first time. So here's some sound from Matt McMahon. I talked about Jordan Sears and what he expects to see from his senior point guard, and that's what Matt McMahon had to say.
Yeah, I think so. He's a guy, made over 75 threes last year. He did it at a high percentage, especially off the catch. He was top 5 catch and shoot 3-point guy in America last season. So want him shooting with a lot of confidence from behind the 3-point line. I think you see his speed and quickness off the bounce, which hopefully can generate some advantages for our offense. Thought he did a lot of good things, and another 3-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. And then I thought, if you're going to be under 6-foot guard, I think he's 5'11", whatever, you have to be disruptive defensively as you go up in level. And I thought you saw some of his ability to impact the game on the defensive side tonight.
And again, it's just the defensive side of things. I'll wait till you see SEC point guards to make that evaluation. I don't have to see that necessarily for pace of of play and knocking down open shots. Shooting is shooting. You're going to have tighter windows to shoot in against Kentucky than you are against Loyola. But I thought that LSU shot it pretty well last night. Cam Carter shot it well last night, and Matt McMahon talked about his role on this team.
Yeah, Cam's a really good player. Averaged 15 a game in the Big 12 last year. But what I've challenged him from the day we started recruiting him is to be a more efficient offensive player, to shoot a higher percentage from the floor by getting higher quality shots, and to lower his turnover rate from a year ago. I thought you saw that tonight. It's very efficient, 21 points, 8 of 13 from the floor, 5 of 8 from 3, and then 3 to 1 assist to turnover. But a lot of it's a credit to the work he's put in. I mean, he's shooting 80% in our offseason shooting program from behind the three-point line. Obviously, there's no defense, but he's getting the reps. He's put in the work. I think you saw the confidence that he shot the ball with from behind the three-point line tonight.
Those two guys are probably going to be LSU's two lead guards, Sears and Carter, and they played well last night. We'll see how that moves into the season. But there are other guards on this team, and I talked about that yesterday, kind of what I was looking to see, and there are a lot of guards. You saw last night Jai Bailey play. He's not going to do a lot of scoring, but he's a really good defensive player. You saw Curtis Givens play. You've seen Tyrell Ward, even though he didn't play last night. Matt McMahon said that was a precautionary thing. But you've seen him play, and I think you're going to see Mike Williams play a lot as well. So there's only 3 guard spots technically in a lineup. What do you expect to see, and what do you think the guard-heavy lineups give you? That's what Matt McMahon talked about yesterday.
Versatility on the defensive side. You can switch some different things, especially when we had the 4-guard lineup in there some tonight. And I think, hopefully, if you're going to be disruptive defensively, it means you got to play extremely hard. And so you want to be able to bring waves of guards in throughout the game. And so I think when you look at it, the 3 starting guards, combined for 47 points, did it very efficiently. And then you look Curtis, Mike, and Victorious off the bench, very efficient in their 30 points they scored. So I thought they played with a lot of unselfishness, and it led to some good looks for us.
2 years in a row under Matt McMahon, LSU's guard plays kind of crumbled. 2 years ago, they were terrible at guard, just awful. You brought a point guard in that couldn't play at this level. You had a 2-guard who was coming off of an injury that you felt like you could count on to be a really good player for you, and you didn't shoot it worth a flip. Like, they were just terrible at guard 2 years ago in Matt McMahon's first year. Last year, it looked better on paper. Jalen Cook didn't play early, and he didn't play late, and he didn't really contribute a lot. And then you had Carlos Stewart who came in, and he didn't help you much at all. You kind of buckled at guard there as well, and you had to have Mike Williams shoulder more than he should have, and Trey Hannibal did more ball handling than he should have, a guy that couldn't shoot. You weren't good enough at guard, and you still won half your league games. They should be better at guard this year. I just routed off all the guys that they've got. That's a lot of dudes. It would be a shock to me if they were bad at guard this year. I think they've got a chance to be good at guard, and that's a good thing. And part of having a lot of guards and a lot of good guards is shooting a lot of threes. And LSU put up a truckload of three-pointers last night. They shot 37 of them in 40 minutes. That's almost getting a 3 up every minute. And Matt McMahon talked yesterday about how many of the threes he wants to shoot.
Well, I think so. If they're high-quality looks that we got tonight, pretty balanced. I guess we were right around a 50-50 split tonight from 2 and 3. Thought the selection was pretty good for the most part. You saw a couple of our young guys fire up an air ball or a bank shot 3 there early, but then once they settled in, knocked down some shots and ready to go. So, I think we just want to get the highest quality shot we can get. If that's off dribble penetration to the rim or Jalen Reed in the post or extra pass threes, we want to take those and shoot them with a lot of confidence.
What I liked about early in this game with the three-point shooting is in the first half only. You had Sears go 3 for 4, Carter go 2 for 4, Victorious Miller go 1 for 2, Mike Williams go 2 for 3. So if you take your guards, just the guards, they went 5, 6, 7, 8, 4, 1, 6, 10, 8 for 14 from 3. That is great shooting. And again, you go play Arkansas and Bud Walton, you don't get quite as good of looks. But shooting is shooting. And they made some shots early. And that was a good thing to see because it is, as I will say a lot of times between now and the end of March, it's a shot-making sport. And that makes it up to chance at times, and you can certainly create better looks, but you got to make them at the end of the day. And LSU did a good job of that last night against competition that did not deserve to be on the same floor as them. So thought that was a very, very good thing. Got one more piece of sound here from Matt McMahon. Actually, 2. One was in the front court in the competition there. They started Jalen Reed in the game last night. They also started Robert Miller, who's a true freshman. Derek Fountain was not available last night, and they don't expect to have Noah Boyd for a good bit. So there aren't as many options in the front court, but Matt McMahon talked about the front court competition.
Yeah, I thought Jalen and Damian at the 5 spot, I thought they were really good there. If it was a real game, we would have done some more things in the post for Jalen, but I think you saw when he did the couple opportunities we did give him, he took full advantage to score or get to the free throw line. Big key for him. He's put in a lot of work, goes 4 or 5 at the free throw line. You've seen him improve there every year since he got here. Damian Collins, we've said it for a long time. Everyone knows he's this elite athlete, once in a generation. And you saw some of those plays made tonight. Goes and gets 9 rebounds in 18 minutes. Rob Miller, 9 rebounds in a little under 20 minutes. So, it's a really good ratio for us. I think rebounding's part of our game. That's an area we're going to have to keep getting better. It's an area we're going to have to answer the bell on. And so I think you see the length and athleticism that Damian and Rob played with, and then the physicality that Jalen played with.
That's one stat that I'm just going to completely throw out the window from last night is rebounding, because you're dealing with NII guys that are 6'6", and you got 6'11" guys that can jump. It's just it's a completely unfair fight. So I'm glad they got a bunch of rebounds. I don't care about those rebounds last night, quite frankly. But Damian Collins is a really good athlete. Jalen Reed is big and physical, and you've got Fountain, and hopefully Miller can come along. And you've got some guys that have got some real size, but you've got to bring those guys along, and they've got to do a good job at rebounding for sure. I think this is going to be a team that needs to be pretty good on defense to be good, and part of defense is rebounding and ending those possessions. LSU's got to certainly do that. Last one here, and then we'll move along to some Saints talk. I was going to do recruiting, but there's some breaking news out of Saints camp. So let's talk about expectations for the third year under Matt McMahon.
It's a real boring answer for me. I mean, obviously, I've told you before, you don't come to LSU to play in the NIT. You come to LSU to build a program that gets the NCAA tournament and wins games in the tournament. But I don't ever put limitations on our team. To me, it's all about just focus on how do we get better every day? How do we build the chemistry of our team? We've talked about the urgency we have to have in November and December to take advantage of some of the non-conference opportunities that we'll have on our schedule. But the goal is to become the best team we're capable of being. And I really like the pieces on our team. And I think if we'll stay committed to that, we'll put ourselves in a position to have some opportunities here as we work our way toward league play.
LSU and ULM coming up on a week from tonight, next Wednesday in the PMAC. That'll be the season opener for the Tigers. All right, when we come back, news out of Saints camp just broke. Got the quarterback back to practice today. We'll talk about it coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electrical Services for 40 years. What have they been doing for 40 years? Well, they've been getting you into Generac generators. They're a certified Generac dealer. They're a premier Generac dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide in Generac generator sales. Why should you buy from Boudreaux's Electrical? Well, a number of reasons. One, every single generator you buy from them comes with a 7 to 10-year warranty on that generator. 2, you're going to get a full-time Boudreaux's Electrical employee to do that installation at your home. They're going to do it majority underground, make it look nice. Also, they're going to monitor your Generac generator remotely. So if something happens, whether it's mechanical, whether somebody knocks into it and makes things malfunction, they'll know about it so they can come out and fix it so that when the power goes out at your house, generator comes on and you have got power. Give yourself the peace of mind to know you're never going to lose power. It happens down here in South Louisiana. We got hurricanes. We got ice storms every once in a while. Got those nasty summer storms. Now's a great time to get that generator put in so that by the time the next hurricane season rolls around, you are set. It's Boudreaux's Electrical Services. I give you the 2 phone numbers each and every day. Same one they've had for 40 years down in Napoleonville, 985-397-1562. Again, 985-397-1562. Or right here in Gonzales. Anywhere in the listening area, 225-300-9389. That's 300-9389, or the easy way, BoudreauxElectrical.com. Boudreaux's Electrical Services, BoudreauxElectrical.com.
The only thing scary about the deals at Bayou Ford is if you miss out on them, like $15,000 off F-150. Bayou Ford has $15,000 off Ford F-150. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Hopefully Hunt remembered to bring his laptop charger. Nah, there's no chance.
.104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge is your new home for the New Orleans Pelicans. Tonight and tomorrow night, the Pelicans will hit the road to face the Golden State Warriors. Tip-off is set for 9 p.m. right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yeah, for the Pels, no DeJounte Murray, no Trey Murphy, no Herb Jones. Perfect. That's perfectly fitting for the New Orleans franchise to not have any of their players available.
Pretty much.
The Saints haven't had many guys available as well, but they did get some positive news today at practice, getting ready for Carolina. Of course, the team takes Tuesday off, start practice in earnest on Wednesday. Derek Carr did return to practice today, as per the folks who were there, including Ross Jackson at LouisianaSports.net, Nick Underhill of NewOrleans.football reporting that Derek Carr is expected to play as the starter this week against Carolina, and Jake Haener will be the backup. I'll take those individually. Derek Carr is going to help. I wasn't wild about the contract when they signed him. It's middle of the road as far as quarterback dollars goes, and he's a middle of the road quarterback. I didn't think that the franchise was in a spot to ink him to that deal. I thought they should probably reset a little bit more in earnest in that. They did not. However, that being said, like, this guy is going to help their team, and he's going to start helping their team on Sunday. He's a functional NFL quarterback. He's capable of having big games and winning. And you've got a couple of young guys who are his backups who are not ready to be the guy in the NFL right now. So Derek Carr's return is a good thing for the Saints, and it's at the perfect week against a team that you are significantly better than, in my estimation. Some people may argue with that. In my estimation, the Saints are significantly better than the Panthers. We saw that a month and a half ago. So I think that's a good thing for the Saints that Derek Carr is back. He's expected to play. As far as Jake Haener being the backup as opposed to Spencer Rattler, I think that just makes a lot of sense because, like in Kansas City when Carr came out and Haener went in, he's the guy you trust with a little more time in the organization to go in and play in a game plan that was not installed for him. Immediately when they had the ability to get a game plan together all week, Spencer Rattler went in, and then he had a long week, and then it didn't go so great, and so they put Haener back in as a backup in that game, and he played. And Haener's just a safer pick at quarterback because he's got a little bit more experience, and he's a little less sporadic. Rattler's got the ability to make the big play, to make the exciting play, to make the athletic play. Haener's just a little bit more, and I say this in a positive way, boring. He'll take the snap, he'll take the check down, he'll be decisive, but he's not going to make a couple guys miss in the backfield and rip it 45 yards down the far sideline very often. Rattler's got that ability, Haener doesn't. But that's not what you're looking for in a backup. You're looking for the backup to come in and stabilize the situation because you've had a crisis here where the offense has lost its starting quarterback. How do we keep it between the buoys? And I think Haener gives you a better chance to do that. So those are the quarterback notes from today. Derek Carr is back. Jake Haener is going to be the backup. As far as absences from practice, not seen during the media viewing portions, Marshawn Lattimore, who's dealing with a hamstring injury, Kendre Miller, who's dealing with a hamstring injury, Tyrann Mathieu was not out there. Also among the absences, Cedric Wilson, Bub Means at wide receiver, Rico Payton at corner, and Kendall Vickers at defensive line. Another thing that was passed along from the media viewing is that Chris Olave was in one of those Guardian caps with a team cover over the top throughout all of practice. And it's common for players to wear the Guardian cap during practice. In fact, almost all of them do. But it's not common to have the team logo on it, which suggests he's testing that to play in it, I think. And that's great. I have absolutely no issue with Chris Olave going out there and wearing that Guardian cap in a game. It's not something we've seen him do, but it certainly makes a lot of sense. Olave spent last week in concussion protocol trying to recover from that. And so it looks like he's going to go, but he's going to do it with that Guardian cap, which I think is good. Let's go back towards the absences and look at the secondary. Tyrann Mathieu, not there at practice today. You know that Will Harris is out. You're slim as far as the secondary goes. Lattimore is very much questionable. Mathieu now becomes questionable with his absence. So you're looking at a secondary that's trying to cobble some things together. That's why they added a couple guys to the practice squad last night. However, if you're going to have issues in the secondary, I think the week to do it is probably this week against Bryce Young in Carolina. Bryce Young has shown no ability through a year and a half as an NFL quarterback to hurt teams in the passing game. He has been confused. He has been indecisive. He has been inaccurate. He has been battered and bruised, and he has not played well really at all throughout his time as an NFL starter. So if you're going to try to cobble things together in the secondary, you understand that you're not going to have Paulson Adebo, who's out for the year. Lattimore and Rico Payton are dealing with injuries. So is Mathieu. So is Will Harris. It's an interesting thing that, like, you had this situation where on the offense you were missing your entire offensive line. You're missing a couple wide receivers. Your quarterback went down, but the defense is kind of intact. And then you start to add guys back to the offense, and the secondary falls apart. But again, this may be the best week to have that happen. Trey Herndon was at practice today. He's the guy they added to the practice squad at cornerback last night. He was wearing number 28 today. So see how quickly they can get him up to speed and potentially get him out there to play against Carolina. Again, we'll continue to update this as we get information. The injury report will come out in the next 25 or 30 minutes. Matt will have more on it after further review. We'll talk about it again tomorrow. But the Saints just constantly fighting that battle on an injury front, and they get a couple back, including Derek Carr today, but you get hurt in the secondary there with multiple absences entering the Carolina game. So that's your thoughts on the Saints. If you want to catch that on YouTube, you can always find our Saints coverage at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. When we come back, SEC Football Power Rankings, The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is the website. I'm cooking dinner tonight. We've got a DIY kit we picked up from a place in town. We're going to do some stir fry. And as I'm cooking, I always have the tunes or podcast going. And I don't have to just listen to my phone on the counter. We get it going through the speakers up on the roof. I can control the volume, what I want to listen to right there on the app. But the sound quality is phenomenal, and I just like to have that going while I'm cooking. Myers Man's probably going to be out in the backyard going nuts. I won't have to hear any of that. I'll just hear what I want to hear in the kitchen, and that's all due to the fact that folks at Audio Video Security Solutions could come over and make it work for us. They make it so simple for you. It's one app right there on your phone. The sound quality is fantastic. It's easy to have it going in one room in the kitchen. You can get it into the living room. You can get it out on the back patio. You can have that sound anywhere in the house you want it, as long as you tell Mitchell Fisher and his team at AVSS that's what you want to do. They'll make it happen for you. The installation was seamless for us, and the customer service after the installation has been fantastic as well. Highly recommend going to AVSS_BR. Check out their work on Instagram, or check them out online, avssla.com. Of course, Audio Video Security Solutions was the People's Choice Award winner for Best Vendor at the Parade of Homes earlier this year. They're awesome people. They've got an awesome company, and you need to be the next to give them a phone call. Call Mitchell Cell, 225-439-7920. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2024 Ram 1500 truck for only $32,898. $32,898 for a new Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Chugging right along here in a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Reminder, Jay Johnson going to stop by tomorrow at 1:30, talk about LSU's fall baseball progress through a couple of weeks. They will head to Biloxi to play on Sunday as they get one of their 2 fall scrimmages in. It'll be 3 7-inning games in Biloxi coming up for LSU. But we'll talk to Jay Johnson tomorrow on the show at 1:30. Luke's at 1:15. Jay Johnson at 1:30 tomorrow. So very much looking forward to that. It's Wednesday, bottom of hour number 2. That means it's time for the SEC Football Power Rankings.
Hunt's SEC Power Rankings.
I'm never ready for this. Just give me a
you're
second
not.
there. It's okay. We will
eventually get there.
We'll eventually get there. Yep, we will. Okay.
When will we get there?
We will get there right now.
Wow.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Georgia Bulldogs are at the top of the list. I feel really good about this. This is the best team in the SEC. They played a bad 30 minutes of football in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, they weren't great against Kentucky either. They gave up some points against Mississippi State, but everybody's got their issues at this point. Georgia is the best team in the league. I think they got the best coach. I think they got the best talent. They're the best team, and they're number 1 in the power rankings. Number 2.
The Texas Longhorns.
I don't feel great about this one. I'll be candid with you. Maybe this is just based on the results of last season. Because if you really look at this, okay, you got beat by Georgia. Okay, you beat Michigan, but they stink. Okay, you beat Vanderbilt. Am I supposed to give you a bunch of credit for that? Ewers has thrown an interception in every game but one, the Michigan game. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I've got Texas at number 2. Texas A&M! Moving on up, Aggies up 2 spots from number 5 to number 3. I need to see more from Marcel Reed. I know how good that looked against LSU in the second half, but you can't just do that and beat everybody when they're preparing for it. And he started 3 games. They won all 3 of them, and I believe you'll see him start again in this game. But their defensive front is legit. Their offensive line is good. Their running backs are good, and their quarterback's very athletic. I have questions about their defensive secondary, but LSU wasn't able to exploit them the entire game, and A&M actually made some plays on the ball. So the Aggies are good. That breaks my heart, but they're good.
The LSU Tigers.
Flawed, but still dangerous on a given day. The quarterback I still think is good. I know there's probably some of y'all that look at the 3 interceptions and say, not good. I would suggest maybe try to run the ball and help him out a little bit. He can make plays. I still think the defense played a good 2.5 quarters and got blown out in the last quarter and a half. Everybody's got their issues, but I'll take Ole Miss at number 4. I don't feel great about it. The Tigers back up 1 spot.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
Ole Miss backs up a spot as well to number 5. They did not play well in the first half against Oklahoma, but they got it figured out and shut them out in the second half. The biggest statistical anomaly with Ole Miss here, they've played 4 conference games. They've only thrown 3 touchdown passes in those 4 games. I feel like they need to throw the ball a little bit better than they have. They do run it pretty well, and I think the defense is actually legit. But I've got them at number 5.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
I think Jalen Milroe just needs to run more. Not in 2 weeks in Tiger Stadium. Run much less in that game. Don't even run it in that game. Just sit back and chunk it. Don't run it at all. But after that, you probably should run it more because that's when Alabama is at their best. Do we need to talk about them shutting out Missouri? Probably not. They had to go to their backup quarterback. He was terrible throwing interceptions. Alabama might be the second, third best team in the league, but I've got them down at number 6.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
Vols don't move anywhere. They're at number 7 here. Only Kentucky throws for fewer yards in SEC games than Tennessee does. 179 yards in league games. However, the defense has been good. They're 3rd in the conference in total defense. They're 3rd in the conference in scoring defense. They're 3rd in the conference in tackles for loss. And they run the ball pretty well. They just don't throw it all that great, and that's why I've got them middle of the pack. Tennessee comes in at number 7.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
Doors don't move. They played rock solid against Texas, played rock solid against Bama and won, played rock solid against Kentucky, played rock solid across the board, really. Virginia Tech, they've been good. I don't know what else you would want from Vanderbilt. They're undermanned. They've got a quarterback that makes them believe, and they've been in every game they've played, except maybe Georgia State. So it's a good team. It's certainly not a great team. I've got Vanderbilt at number 8.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
Got the Gamecocks there at number 9. If Sellers is just decent, they've got a chance. Sellers is not a great thrower, but he's a good runner, and if he's decent, their defense will give them a chance because it's really good up front. And I'm fascinated by this game with Texas A&M on Saturday. I think they've got a chance to win it. Because that's how good their defense is. But if Sellers is bad and can't complete passes, then they won't. So we've seen some of that as well. They got crushed by Ole Miss. So South Carolina comes in at number 9.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Hogs at 10. They're 2nd in the SEC in total offense. They're 7th in the nation in total offense, which once again gives me a little bit of confidence about LSU's defense because they went up there and shut them down. You want to say that was all because Taylor Green was hurt? Maybe. 7 days later, he went for a bajillion. So I don't know that he was crippled. But Arkansas, I think, is an average team that can be explosive against bad teams. And that's what they were on Saturday, so got them there at number 10.
The Florida Gators.
Don't look now, but the Gators have won 3 of 4. The only loss was a close one to Tennessee. They could have won with a 2-point conversion. They didn't even try. They're coming off a bye. Show me what you can do. You got Georgia and Jacksonville, and then you go play Texas. They could move up here. I'm hopeful they get annihilated in both of these games so they quit by the time LSU shows up in the swamp, but that may be wishful thinking. Florida at number 11.
The Missouri Tigers.
Missouri comes in at number 12. They lost 41-10 at A&M. They lost 34-0 at Bama. That's 75-10 against the real meat of their schedule, which is not very good. But everybody down here is significantly flawed. I'll take Missouri here. I don't know if I feel super awesome about it, but that's what I got. Do we have an Auburn button?
We do, man. Sometimes it's just really...
It's a little...
The Auburn Tigers.
For some reason.
There they are. They move up 3 spots to number 12. They were in the cellar last week, and they won a game. And I think the reason they were in the cellar is because they were losing every week. It wasn't that they looked like the worst team in the league. They honestly haven't looked like the worst team in the league all year. They just lose every game, which makes you the worst team. But some teams have backed up behind them, so I've got Auburn here after winning a game where they played pretty well against Kentucky. Here's the deal. Your offense is not good. You've scored 21, 17, 13, 21, and 14 in league games. Still, you should probably have another win or two. I've got Auburn right there.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
At 14, it's a nice win that you had at Ole Miss. It's a nice effort against Georgia. There's just now too much bad on the ledger for me to ignore. Vandy comes in and punks you. South Carolina comes in and punks you. It's just Florida punks you. It's just there's too much bad for me to keep moving Kentucky up, so I've got them down at 14.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
Sooners stay where they were at 15. They looked good out of the gate in Oxford. They scored some points in the first half, 14 of them. That's a solid effort. But then you back up and you don't score any in the second half. They still got big issues on the offensive side, and I don't think the defense is great. So Oklahoma, second to last team in the league.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Had to drop Mississippi State down after a week out of the cellar. That defense is putrid. They give up a 73% completion percentage. And look, they're the only team in the league that's given up 2,000 passing yards. It's so bad on defense that even though Jeff Lebby and that offense are moving the ball and Van Buren looks like a functional true freshman quarterback, the defense masks all of it. You allow Arkansas to come in there and score nearly 60 points. That's atrocious. I got Mississippi State as the worst team in the league.
Yeah, I tend to agree with most of these. Where
should A&M be?
That's the one. I mean, that's not the one. The one I was going to talk about was Alabama and Tennessee. But A&M, I think, has got to be. They have to be in the top 3. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, but are they 1?
No,
are they 2?
I don't think they're 1 or 2. No, I don't think so.
If Texas and A&M played in Boston today, who would you pick?
I'd take Texas.
Based on what? I'm not telling you wrong. I had Texas ranked ahead of them.
Yeah, just based on the body of work for both teams. I think Texas just overall has a better team. They have a better quarterback, and I would take Texas on a neutral field.
That Marcel Reed thing, I'm still having trouble filing it away. I'm very confident if you turned on TexAgs radio or listening in College Station today, they would tell you how dominant their offensive line is and how physical they are and well-coached they are and how Reed's a dynamic athlete and a great decision maker and all that. But they didn't score 70 in the 3 games that he was piloting earlier. It wasn't like he lit it up against Arkansas. They were in a dogfight, and that game was played around 20 points. It was just a perfect storm of interceptions and missed assignments by LSU and good play by A&M that made them look so dominant for 20 minutes of game action. And I just don't know how to rectify that with what Reed was previous to that. It's a weird thing. And LSU moved the ball up and down the field on A&M for the first half. As I said, 268 yards of offense in the first half, and they missed 3 field goals and still had 17 points. So I think A&M's good. I think they're going to make the SEC championship game. But I still don't. I guess here's the deal. I'm struggling with the lack of that absolute machine in the Southeastern Conference. What Bama was for 15 years, what Georgia has been for 5 years, what LSU is in 2011 and 2019, where you're like, there are 15 pros on this team that start. They're beating everybody by 30 points. Oh, my goodness. And that's not the case with A&M, who was in a dogfight with Mississippi State 2 weeks ago and didn't go gangbusters against Arkansas. And they got beat by Notre Dame. Like, I realize Wigman to Reed's a big deal, but I just have trouble surrendering it all to Texas A&M.
Yeah, and other than that though, the Alabama Tennessee, man, that is a really that is a tough one, man. You could really go either way there, because you could look at both of them have bad losses and both of them have really good wins. But of course, Tennessee has the
win is
over Alabama, but Alabama beat Georgia, so it's like that's a tough one to me. So other than that, though, I don't really see where else you could have any problems.
How about this for a hypothetical while we're just kicking stuff around? Would you say Arkansas is an average talent team?
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah.
If I gave you Arkansas's team, I said you got 2 weeks to prepare. You can either have Jalen Milroe or Nico Iamaleava as your quarterback with Arkansas's roster. Who would you take?
Probably Jalen Milroe, because they're built. I mean, they're already kind of built for that style with Taylor Green. Yeah, I think so.
I don't know who's better between those two. I know that both of them have really good games and both of them have terrible games.
I'll take the more experienced guy.
I'll take the guy that I know can run for 140 on the right day, which is Milroe. All right. Those are your SEC Power Rankings for this week. We'll take a timeout, come back and close it out. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, official auto sponsor of us here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Love the folks over at Genesis of Baton Rouge. I tell you this every day. That facility, Airline and Piku, is the finest car dealership I have ever set foot in. It feels like the lobby of a super nice hotel. They've got the waterfall coming over the rocks. They've got comfortable seating, fantastic Wi-Fi, great ambiance. If you're going to spend some time there, either purchasing a vehicle or getting your car serviced, it's a great place to do it. They've got an awesome variety of snacks there. They've got a state-of-the-art coffee machine, and it's so clean and comfortable in there. I know a lot of folks don't love to bring your car in for service, but if you're going to do it, this is the spot to do it. And I'll be honest with you, if you don't want to sit there in this awesome environment, you don't have to. They've got valet capabilities for their maintenance. They can come get your vehicle, bring it on in, deal with what they've got to deal with, whether it's your windshield wipers, it's your tires, whether it's dealing with the oil change, and they'll bring it right back to you. And while the car's out, you can have one of theirs. They'll make sure that you've got wheels. It's part of the experience of being a Genesis of Baton Rouge driver. Most of you are not driving around a Genesis because it's fairly new to the market, and Baton Rouge has not had a Genesis dealership all that long. But that's going to change because folks are going to start hearing about Genesis and start getting behind the wheel of this luxury vehicles. It is a fantastic product. It's a fantastic group of people to work with. So go by and see them, Airline and Piku. Check out everything that's on the lot at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
The only thing scary about the deals at Bayou Ford is if you miss out on them, like $15,000 off F-150. Bayou Ford has $15,000 off Ford F-150. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Welcome back to the Hunt Palmer Show. Here's your host, Hunt, the uniform czar, Palmer. Which uniform do you hate now?
Congratulations to Tyler Hunt from Baton Rouge. Tyler is the Week 9 winner in our 2024 College Football Pick'em Contest, and he wins a Hooters Wing Party for 10. Don't forget to make your picks for round 10 by tomorrow, Thursday at noon. Weekly winners will receive a Hooters Wing Party for 10 people, and the first place season-long champion will receive a 75-inch 4K flat-screen TV and soundbar, plus free Hooters Wings for an entire year. It's the 2024 College Football Pick'em presented by Hooters.
Speaking of that drop, we had uniform issues in the Pelicans game last night.
Yeah,
I had the
did.
Warriors in red, white, blue, and yellow, which is wrong. I had the Pelicans in Crescent City jerseys, which is dumb. I mean, it's just bad. There's a lot of bad stuff going on.
It is a nickname for New Orleans, huh?
Do I need LSU coming out of the tunnel in the PMAC with a shirt that says Bayou Bengals on it?
Well, that's not a nickname for the city.
Are the Yankees going to take the field tonight instead of their pinstripes? They're going to put on Bronx Bombers shirts.
Well, they may eventually, actually. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising.
It would be terrible.
In a regular season game,
that's
it's
the
okay.
problem. No, it's not. Wear what you're supposed to wear.
Yeah.
The czar has spoken.
No, I guess so.
Play take it or leave it.
Speaking of the Pelicans, that game last night, not great. They were up by 20 in the second quarter, and they lost by 20, essentially. 124-106. They had 21 three-pointers made. The Warriors did. Zion Williamson had 7 turnovers. The Warriors had 34 points off of turnovers.
Yeah.
Trouble in Pels land. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'll take it to an extent. I just think there's some flaws with the roster building, and then I think there's some injuries. Like, you don't have a true big.
Yep.
Like, you're putting Izzy out there for some of the
Daniel
run.
Tice.
And Daniel Tice is playing, but he's not, what is he, 6'8", 6'9"?
He's like 6'10", 6'9".
I mean, I don't think you've got a true big that's an impact guy, and I've got guys hurt. You got Trey Murphy hurt. You got Herb Jones hurt. We played 4 games. You got guys that are out missing a lot of time. Zion's tummy hurt for the first game. Still won that game, but it's just hard to win when you don't have your guys, and they never have their guys.
Yeah.
And I guess it's part of the deal. Steph didn't play for the Warriors last night, but man, tough.
Yeah, this can happen. I mean, when you have a team like the Pelicans where you're going to rely heavily on your starters and your bench are solid guys, I mean, you would expect to get decent contributions from them, but there's going to be games where the guys off the bench just don't give you anything. Jordan Hawkins was 0 for 6 last night. And, other than that, there was really not any. You didn't really get much from the bench. I mean, Zion Williamson had 31 points, but again, he had 7 turnovers. And
he and B.I. scored a bunch of points.
Yeah, they did. But, the turnovers were real issues. C.J. McCollum had 4 turnovers. He had 5 points. So when one guy has an off game and you have, 1 or 2 guys that can do something for you, but the defense wasn't good, the turnovers were bad.
Buddy Hield was getting
buckets.
Buddy
Hield hit 7 threes, former Pelicans guy.
Yep.
But yeah, it wasn't great. It didn't look good, but it's one game out of 82. So just try to clean up on those mistakes, as Dennis Allen says. Last one here, Garrett Cole is on the bump for the Yankees tonight. He'll extend the series another game. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I think Garrett Cole will extend the series another game. That's what you pay him for. I think the series is over. I think the Dodgers will win the World Series. I think it probably happens in 5 games, though. I think the Yankees will come out one more time motivated. I think Cole will be very good, and I think they'll win the game. But I don't think it gets back to L.A. I think that either one of these 2 games is going to go the way of the Dodgers. It's not super hot take that the Dodgers are going to split one of these 2 games. But the Yankees did show a little life last night. Volpe hit a slam, and you got some late offense to put it away. But you need your ace to go out there and do his thing. I've been in a 3-1 situation before. It didn't feel quite this dire because you weren't in a situation where you went down 3-0.
Yeah.
But the Cubs came back and did it in 16. It can be done. I just don't know if it's going to be done against these Dodgers. Those Indians were a little different than these Dodgers.
Yeah, they were a little bit different. They didn't have quite as much star power. And really, maybe the Dodgers will just lose this next game on purpose so they can win at home and celebrate at home.
They have to lose 2 in a row.
That's true, actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's 3-1. So,
yeah. Well, I guess they probably won't do that. But yeah, man,
how's Freddie Freeman doing?
He's pretty good.
6 homers.
I think he's probably going to be the World Series MVP. You think?
I think it was an interesting strategy the Dodgers deployed there when they decided to put 3 MVPs at the top of their order.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It was an interesting thing, way to go about it. The Cubs haven't explored that yet, which is disappointing. But maybe they'll start to look at it as kind of a way to mirror these Dodgers. Just get 3 MVPs in the lineup. I think that generally works pretty well.
Let's let Anthony Rizzo get on the board, man. Get us a home run or something. Let the Cubs fans have something to cheer for.
Okay, yeah. So I'm interestingly torn on that. Do I want Rizzo to have a championship in New York too, or do I want this to be his only one in 16?
Well, I mean, it's not going to happen, but I would say I would rather him only have the Cubs.
I mean, I think he would tell you that the one in Chicago probably
this
means
one,
more.
Yeah, this one doesn't mean. I mean, he's how many games did he even play this year? Like maybe 100 and I don't know, maybe 100. He played 92 games this year. Like he's not.
That's a lot of games. That's 92 games.
Okay, it is, but at the same time, like he's not
70.
He's not the same guy that he was, 10 years ago.
Not.
So like it's big, but the 16 one, he was a major part of that team.
What's his dog's name? It's a human name.
I forgot.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin the dog. I'm sure Kevin's doing well.
Sure he is.
That's it for Take It or Leave It here on this Wednesday. If you missed any of our show, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Talked about LSU's running game. J.D. PicKell was with us. It was a What If Wednesday. Matt McMahon sound on LSU's exhibition basketball win last night. Derek Carr returns to practice. Much more. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further View. We're back tomorrow, Thursday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carbo and his team, fantastic folks over there at Highland Insurance Group. I know insurance is not the most fun thing in the world to talk about. When you talk about insurance, most people just talk about how much it costs. If the only thing you know about your commercial insurance program as a business owner is that it costs a lot, I would highly suggest you look a little bit deeper into it, because the time to start looking at what your insurance program does, how it reads, how it responds, what the exclusions are. If you're doing that after the storm has passed, after the cyber breach has happened, after the car accident, you could be in some trouble. Make sure you've got somebody on your team, a broker that's on your team, that's going to get out in front of that and make sure you're protected. That's the most important thing with an insurance broker. Jonathan Carver and his team will do it for you. EPL, crime, D&O, umbrella, all the things you need for a commercial insurance policy, they'll make sure that you've got it over there at Highland Insurance Group. Check them out online, HighlandIG.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2024 Ram 1500 truck for only $32,898. $32,898 for a new Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou